Okay, today's topic is price elasticity of supply. If you have a look at the Wordle there, you'll see a lot of keywords associated with the topic. You may recognize some already. Key things that you need to know. Obviously, we need to understand the meaning of the term price elasticity of supply. We must be able to calculate it, and we must be able to apply it to given contexts. Okay, in terms of the definition, please make sure that you highlight this in your notes at the top of page 67. What is price elasticity of supply, PES? Well, it measures the relationship, the responsiveness of quantity supplied to a change in price. Okay, so the responsiveness of quantity supplied to a change in price. In terms of calculating it, it is now the percentage change in quantity supplied. Don't get it mixed up. Percentage change in quantity supplied divided by the percentage change in price, or you can use our alternative equation. In terms of measuring price elasticity of supply, if it is elastic, i.e. greater than 1, and we'll come to that in a moment, producers can increase their output without a rise in cost or a time delay. Okay, they are responsive. They find it easier to increase output when there's a change in price. However, if supply is inelastic, firms find it more difficult to change their production within a given time period. They are less responsive to a change in price, and we need to find out why that may be. In terms of the key values and what they mean, okay, when price elasticity of supply is going to be greater than 1, we would call it supply price elastic. When it's less than 1, price inelastic. When it is equal to 0, it will be perfectly inelastic, and as a result, the supply curve will be perfectly vertical. And when it is equal to infinity, it is perfectly elastic, and it will be horizontal. Okay, so the supply curve would be horizontal. Okay, calculating price elasticity of supply. Let's have a quick look at an example. You have a market for tractors, and it's supplied by two firms, X and Y, each initially having 50% of the market. If there is a 10% rise in the price of tractors, and that leads to an increase in output of 15% overall, what is the price elasticity of supply of tractors in the market? Well, a 10% rise in price, put 10% on the bottom, led to an increase in the supply of tractors. So a positive over a positive is going to give us a positive value. 15 over 10 is 1.5. It is greater than 1. Supply is price elastic. And if we want to look at interpreting that value, okay, if a 1% rise in price leads to a 1.5% increase in quantity supplied. Okay, so just make sure that you are able to interpret those figures. Okay, you will now be having a go at this question. I'm going to press pause and let you have a go at it. It shouldn't take you more than 3 minutes. Okay, pushing on. This is something that you can do in your own time. This is a Phil Holden video. Price elasticity of supply is very good. If you need to go through this topic and you fancy another voice, okay, then obviously you can go through it. Again, he's very good. Make notes in the space provided on page 68. Okay, pushing on, bottom of your page 68, with elastic and inelastic supply curves. Okay, so just having a look at elastic supply, have a look at what you can see. The supply curve is fairly flat, and as a result, when there's an increase in demand, and obviously that's a big increase in demand, have a look at the percentage, the difference between the percentage change in price and the percentage change in quantity supplied. The rise in price from P1 to P2, okay, the proportionate change in quantity supplied is greater than that proportionate change in price, and as a result we can say there is elastic supply. Okay, so this large change in demand has been met without a significant increase in price. On the right hand diagram, with inelastic supply, where we have that much steeper curve, Okay, have a look at what happens on this occasion. You have a big increase in demand again, but have a look at what happens this time. Okay, a significant change in price, increase in price from P1 to P2 is not matched by the same percentage change in quantity supplied. So as a result, supply is relatively unresponsive to that change in price, to that change in demand. Okay, pushing further forward, if you have a look at the left-hand diagram, supply is perfectly elastic. It is equal to infinity. Okay, and this time when there is a rise in demand, what happens? Okay, have a look closely at that. Okay, there is an increase in the amount traded from Q1 to Q2 without any increase in price whatsoever. Supply is perfectly elastic, completely responsive, no change in price needed in order for supply to be able to increase. Okay, so that increase in demand can be met without any change in price. On the opposite extreme, we have perfectly inelastic supply. Okay, so supply is equal to zero. Okay, it is fixed. It cannot respond to a change in demand. So in this instance, if there's an increase in demand from D1 to D2, supply will not change. However, the price will change, obviously, as a result of that increased demand pushing the price up. Okay, but with perfectly inelastic supply, we have a vertical supply curve. A quick opportunity for yourselves to have a go at this. So inelastic supply on the left hand side, elastic supply on the right hand side, and you have a number of examples just above your diagrams, nuclear reactors, grapes, fidget spinners, and so on. And what I want you to do is to identify a minimum of 2 goods that can go in the inelastic category and a minimum of 2 in the elastic supply category. Okay, you've got 2 minutes to have a go at that. Okay, top of page 70. Could you guys put must know for the exam? Factors affecting the price elasticity of supply. And what you're trying to think of is what factors make firms more or less responsive to a change in price. Okay, what makes them more or less able to increase supply when there's a rise or fall in price? Okay, it's the first one, spare production capacity. If a firm has significant spare capacity, then obviously they can increase output quite quickly without a rise in costs. Okay, and as a result, they will be more responsive. Secondly, stocks of finished products and components. Now, some manufacturers have warehouses full of completed products. Okay, so if the price goes up, they are very easily able to distribute those to stores. Okay, so as a result of that, that means they can be very responsive. Also, if they have significant stocks of raw materials, again, they'll be able to react quickly if there's an increase in demand. Now, some goods, think about agricultural goods, ones which are perishable, which means they go off, okay, or they are more expensive to store. Perhaps they need higher refrigerated costs and so on. So that would make supply less elastic. It would make it inelastic, okay, because it's difficult to store. The third one, the ease and cost of factor substitution, and what you're talking about here is the ability to switch resources between uses. So, for example, if you were in a biscuit factory, if there was a new line, perhaps Christmas goods coming online, are you able to quickly move some workers to another? Are you able to move production lines from the production of one good easily to another? If you are able to, supply will be more elastic. If you're unable to, it will be less elastic. The fourth point, time period and production speed. Now, obviously, if you are able to produce something relatively quickly, let me just think of an example. Even a smartphone, which presumably takes a few hours from the start of the process to the end of the process to make, and again most of that will be used made using robotic technology. Compare that to an agricultural good which might take 6 months, 9 months to grow. If the price goes up, a smartphone manufacturer will be able to respond quite quickly, whereas an agricultural producer will be unable to. Okay, so for agricultural goods, it tends to be inelastic supply unless you can hold great stocks of them. For manufactured goods, there is more elastic supply. Okay, this is a nice summary diagram, top of page 70. If you learn this, that will hold you in good stead. So price tends to be more elastic, greater than 1, when the following happens. The supplier has plenty of spare capacity to increase output, high stock levels are available, it's the production time frame to get products to market is short, and they can easily switch resources. So from one production of one good to another, a production line from one good to another. Okay, there are a few examples now that I'm going to press pause on and you can have a go at. Okay, a quick past paper question for yourselves. And in terms of this, again, I'll press pause and you guys can work that out. A quick summary of elasticity and price changes. It might be worth taking a screenshot, pressing pause and getting this information down. Some useful applications of price elasticity of supply. This topic does not stand alone. Elasticity will be able to be used across the syllabus. So later on, when we talk about changes in the exchange rate, when we talk about government intervening in markets, we haven't talked about minimum or maximum prices yet. We will come back to price elasticity of supply. And again, a whole host of other important examples and context that we can use. Okay, on page 71 you have a number of questions. I'd like you to have a go at that now, please. This is a real challenge question. You guys should enjoy having a go at questions like this. This is where the good economists start to come to the fore. Using diagrams, evaluate the extent to which an increase in the demand for a product always leads to a corresponding increase in price and quantity. Try and think what the key words are in there. What are the command words? Okay, and see if you can have a go. I'll be impressed if students can get this one right. Okay, that is more or less the end of the topic, price elasticity of supply. It's an important one. Please make sure that you use this video well. Come back to it, come back to key learning as you need to reinforce those concepts. And lastly, some suggested wider reading. If you click on that link, it will take you to Tutor to You and a whole series of articles on price elasticity of supply. Okay, thank you everyone.